Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join CN Guidance and Counseling Services Hour of Hope, which is supported by several companies, including Epic Insurance Brokers and Consultants, M&T Bank, Alcott HR, Brown Weinrob, and Mutual of America Financial Group. My name is Liz Burke, and I am one of the organization's volunteers serving on its board of directors. I am honored to serve as the MC for tonight's event. For those of you who have joined the Hour of Hope for the second year in a row, we're so happy that you could take part again. And a warm welcome to our new guests. Serving all of Long Island, CN Guidance and Counseling Services has helped countless individuals recover from mental health and substance use issues. Tonight's event will include words of hope and help, a Q&A where you will be able to ask our panel questions, and a raffle drawing with exciting prizes. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers tonight, including our featured speaker, 1010 Wins radio reporter and former News 12 Long Island anchor, Drew Scott, who will share his personal story with us. And Sherry Kaplan, licensed clinical social worker and division director at CN Guidance, who will provide helpful tips to reduce anxiety and stress. This Hour of Hope is the culmination of a month-long social media initiative by CN Guidance called Thankful for You, leading up to the Thanksgiving holiday. Anyone can post a photo of someone they're thankful for on social media, include the hashtag Thankful for You, and tag CN Guidance to raise awareness of mental health issues. And for those who are able to donate, please text Thankful for You. That's thankful, the number 4, the letter U, no spaces, to 44321. Donations are a big part of what keeps CN Guidance going. And here's a look into why this organization is so important to Long Island.
The work we do is so important. I feel so blessed each and every day when I wake up and know that when I come to work and my staff come to work, we can literally save a life.
What we want you to have is hope. The hope is the center of this agency, and it's a hope that's realized by the treatment that's available, but more importantly, the care that's available. The people affiliated with Central Nassau are here to help.
CN Guidance and Counseling Services is here for the community. We're your agency, and right now we need your help. Your donations support thousands of Long Islanders.
I think, mental health and substance use, people don't want to talk about that, and it's so necessary.
And I can tell you, at least from my experience, that mental illness affects many, many, many lives, more so than most people are willing to admit.
Because a lot of times we say, those things happen over there.
The need from the community is unbelievable, and we've been able to really rise to the occasion.
CN Guidance and Counseling Services is a nonprofit organization based in Hicksville, New York, that assists individuals in Nassau and Suffolk counties who live with mental health or substance use issues, or both. The organization provides clinical treatment, counseling, housing, and support services, and accepts most private insurance, Medicaid, and Medicare.
We see, everyone, parents, teachers, students. We've seen, I worked with a lawyer once that was suffering from anxiety.
Most of us have been touched by mental health or substance abuse in some way, shape, or form, and I think that drives a lot of us into this field and to provide these types of services because we've seen it, we've been impacted with it.
One thing I really learned about this agency is drug addiction and alcohol addiction. It's Not that they're bad people. It's an illness.
There's definitely a stigma surrounding mental health and surrounding substance use. And some of the nicest, most kind, wonderful people I have met have had either an addiction or have had a mental health issue in their lives.
I went to school, I did, I have actually my master's, so when I got arrested, I was like, everything I worked for is now gone. I literally thought like my life is over, and I wanted to give up so badly.
You can see, and they're pleading to move ahead. Their goal is to move ahead. I want to work. I want to get a girlfriend. I want to be somebody.
They say tragedy doesn't become a tragedy until it impacts you directly. And I lost my brother in 2017 to an overdose. And he tried, multiple rehabs, and he was doing really well. And I carry his letters with me. And I think if people could see that, instead of just thinking of like they're a throwaway, or that's like what my brother would say.
They come to us and there is no hope in their eyes. And we have the ability to ignite that in them.
And I think the services that CNG provides are more important than ever, because we see the need is so broad among all walks of life.
The reality is that since the day I joined this agency in 2009 until today, we have grown not only in the number of staff that we've needed to support these programs, but in the number of clients that we've served.
And the biggest barrier that we've had is that people have to wait for that help. So they're in this major crisis and they don't know where to go.
CNG provides services and also provides awareness to the general population.
So for us to be out there in the community and telling people where they can go to get the help that they need, that's what I'm most proud of.
Someone can go through different levels of care here, or they can be in multiple programs at the same time. And their providers, their service providers, are talking and collaborating with each other instead of trying to chase someone else at another agency for information.
And when you can pull all those services together like that, it's really unique and incredible what you can provide for a client when you have that kind of coordination.
In a time when nonprofits are downsizing or cutting back staff or cutting back services, we've done the exact opposite. And we've been able to grow and morph into what Long Island needs us to be.
We try to create services based on what's going on in the community. So, if they're closing the hospitals and they're discharging people who need extra support, we'll create programs to give those people extra support. We're having an opioid crisis. We'll create programs to address the opioid crisis.
The Forensic Act team is a treatment team. We provide the treatment that stabilizes these clients to have a normal lifestyle, be able to walk to Target, walk to CVS, and not break down.
CN Guidance Housing Program, we service about 300 clients, and our housing programs have different levels of care depending on their needs.
We have beautiful homes and beautiful apartments all the way from Valley Stream out to Mastic.
I'm honestly privileged. I feel privileged and honored to be able to assist the clients that look like me. And we do have a lot of clients like that, minorities. And it's important that they are not left out.
I had a heart attack, so I was in the hospital. And it's like from out of nowhere, Stephanie came in my room and she was talking to me. And she asked me where I lived at, and I told her that me and my son were homeless and we were living in my car at the time. When she came into that room that day, it was like she was an angel, for real. It's like everything that she said was gonna happen, happened. As far as medical, helping me find a doctor for my son and myself, and helping me to better myself as far as finally going to school to get my high school equivalency diploma.
They mean a lot to me because they're like a family to me because all the staff are kind-hearted and all, and they're gonna be on the call of duty too. I'll probably be homeless. So that's a fact right there. And I don't know what to say. Yeah, I would be down and out. Yeah, without CNG, I would have more anxiety. I feel, yeah, because I won't be getting the help I need for my anxiety disorder, which means I'll be living a more depressed life.
To see a resident come in that is so sick and struggling every day with every decision they make, and to see them make small strides of preparing a meal, traveling on their own, maintaining sobriety for a period of time, socializing, going on a date. Those things are incredible successes for us and some of our greatest joys.
Nobody's going to go until they're ready. I get that because I've lived it. But I think that constantly saying that there's support there and doing it the right way.
A first for Long Island, CN Guidance also travels throughout communities in Nassau County in its tech-powered mobile recovery unit, bringing treatment and support directly into people's homes.
They looked up and there was our RV going by that says Hope rides here. And they took the number down and they called right away. And we were able to help that individual right away.
There's been, people that wanted to go to detox or rehab literally on the spot, and we take them that day.
We have such a desire and a passion to be able to help people and to be there for people where they're at.
There are days when it's hard, and I've had people personally in my life affected by substance use, so maybe I take it a little more personally, but when you have that one success, even if it's a small success, even if it's somebody just making a little goal, a week sobriety, a day sobriety, it's all worth it.
It's not just a job, it's more of an inner spirit and motivation that we have to help people.
When somebody's struggling, that's incredibly personal. To have that opportunity to be in somebody's home during that struggle and to be able to be part of that recovery is a gift.
It's just the most amazing feeling to be able to give anybody a little bit of hope and a little bit of help.
A lot of people talk about hope, and what does that mean? People come to us with whatever little hope they may have left, hoping that there's an opportunity to be able to make their life better. And the people who work here have a motivation to make a difference.
Central Nassau Guidance Counseling Center is our community.
This is our community we're helping. We're talking about Long Island, helping people in Long Island. Our communities, our neighborhood, our families.
It is here where we live. It impacts us directly.
Every day you have an opportunity to touch someone's life and to be a part of their story and to help them in some way overcome something.
There is a price to pay for inaction. If it wasn't for CNG, over 7,000 patients a year would not have an outlet for which to even begin to heal.
And to be able to touch one life and to help one person is amazing, so 7,000 is incredible.
What CNG is a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver for people that have nowhere else to turn.
I'm the face of hope. Adriana is the face of hope. Lauren and Nick and James, Gary, Ryans, we're all the face of hope.
Everybody deserves a chance, they deserve a life, and they deserve to have the opportunity to turn things around. It's never too late.
CNG they came into my life and they brought me much more than just hope. They brought me a new life.
So the hope, for me, starts in the fact that I was given a chance to become who I'm becoming. And I had never had that before.
and a strong supporter of the organization has been Neil Falkenhan, a vice president and insurance advisor for the commercial division of Epic Insurance Brokers and Consultants. Neil grew up in East Hampton, New York, and resides there with his wife, Amy, and 2 daughters. He has been a supporter of CN Guidance and Counseling Services for nearly a decade and volunteers his time to ensure the organization continues to serve the most vulnerable in our community. We are very grateful for Neil's support, and CN Guidance is honored to name him their 2021 Hope Award recipient to recognize him for his contributions. Congratulations, Neil.
Oh, thank you, Liz, and thank you to everyone at CN Guidance for this honor and recognition. CN Guidance is an amazing organization. I'm proud to be a part of it. So please, thank you again. Keep up the excellent work.
Thank you, Neil. And if anyone on Zoom would like to donate, again, you can text thankful for you to 44321. That's the word thankful, the number 4, the letter U to 44321. Now I'd like to turn it over to our featured speaker tonight. An award-winning journalist, Drew Scott, has been giving us the news we need to know for decades. And in recent years, he's been dedicating much of his time to raising awareness of the opioid epidemic. We're grateful to have him here tonight to share his personal story. Drew, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Liz. Glad to be here and just so glad to join all of the other people who are on this panel. I was inspired by that video. I've got to tell you, it was just fantastic. My name is Drew Scott. I'm a lifetime journalist with 50 years in this business, although I don't feel like it. I've covered so many tragedies over the years, disasters and heartbreak in my career, like 9/11, TWA 800, the Reagan assassination attempt, the capture of Son of Sam. But I was never prepared to lose my own precious twin granddaughter, Hallie Ray Ulrich, to opioid addiction. Now, she was just 22 years old and in love with what we didn't know at the time was an opioid addict. He bullied her and he wanted to share his misery with her. And we found out a few days before she died that Southampton Town Police were actually called to break up their fight, but they were never separated. She fought to get sober and went cold turkey twice, came up here to Vermont to work with my daughter and get away from her boyfriend. But in 2017, she spent several days in the Suffolk County Jail after months and months of rehabs, sober homes, tens of thousands of dollars for anti-addiction programs. She lost her battle with addiction, and it was a terrible tragedy. She lost her battle on September the 7th of 2017. They spent several days camping together, she and her boyfriend in East Hampton. He injected her unwittingly with heroin laced with fentanyl. It killed her. He dumped her body, wrapped her in a blanket, never stayed by her waiting for paramedics. He stole her car, an ATM card. He withdrew money, bought more drugs with the money before overdosing himself and dying the next day. Who does that sound like? Yes, these past few weeks have been misery for us because so many similarities between Hallie Ray's case and that of Gabby Petito, although in Gabby's case, we don't know, we don't think drugs were involved in that case, but it was a domestic violence case. Anyway, the pandemic has affected not only addiction by increasing substance abuse, but good mental health is at risk because of the isolation, the trauma of seeing so many sick and dying. In fact, there's an ambulance going by right now here in Vermont. Somebody is in trouble, and that's just one of the things that we've become experienced with in this pandemic. It's not only affected the increase in substance abuse, but good mental health is at risk because of the isolation that many of us have gone through, the trauma of seeing so many sick, so many dying. I firmly believe that if CN Guidance was available for more people like Hallie Ray and folks like her, she would be alive today. That's why it's so important for you to give support to this program with your generous contributions. Volunteer if you can. If you have the credentials, please go to work for Central Nassau Guidance and Counseling Service. Well, after working as co-chair of the Southampton Town Task Force, and the town supervisor asked me if I would be willing to work with him, because I just couldn't concentrate anymore on reporting the news. I left News 12 and retired and went into radio afterwards. But we have adopted a new name. It's called the Southampton Town Addiction and Recovery Committee, not just the task force anymore. We're actually stressing mental health component as being important, and just as important as substance abuse recovery. And we've helped to start committees in Islip Town, which started the Islip Goes Purple campaign. I know a lot of you have heard of that. And in Huntington, they've gone purple as well. And we're still working. Please help us on the town of Babylon, town of Riverhead, town of Brookhaven, Southold, and Shelter Island. So we're not going to give up. I've learned my lesson. The don't allow the stigma to make you afraid to speak up and say, hey, addiction and overdose happened in my family. I want to do something about it. I want to stop it. I want to see fewer families suffering these tragedies. That's why I've spoken out. And I hope you continue to speak out and work with CN Guidance as well as I have. So thank you, Liz. Thank you, all of the panelists tonight, and thank you for your generous contributions. Liz?
Thank you, Drew, for sharing your personal story with us. We are very sorry for your loss, and your words are truly of inspiration to us. And we appreciate those words of hope that you share with us tonight. Now I'd like to introduce Sherry Kaplan, licensed clinical social worker and division director at CN Guidance, who will provide us with some helpful tips on how to cope during this time. Sherry, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Liz. I'm so happy to be here this evening, and thank you so much to Drew. Your words are so meaningful and will carry so many people through with some strength that they need during this holiday season. As the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer, the coronavirus is still very much with us. And for the next holiday season, we'll be faced with some of the challenges that we thought we would do without this year. We thought we'd have life back to normal. Some of us are dealing with anxiety, facing the holidays, and certainly facing the holidays with some of the challenges of this virus. What does anxiety feel like for us? Well, for some of us, it can be physical. We may have headaches and feel tired or have stomach aches. And for some, it's emotional. We may find that we're irritable, that we may be sad, feel angry. What can we do to push through these emotions so that we can function the best that we can for ourselves and for our families? Let's recognize that anxiety isn't just something that's good or bad. It's a natural response. It's one way that our mind and our body prepares us for responding to something that's a perceived threat. So what do we do with those feelings? I have some tips and tricks and tools for us that can apply to adults and to children. So hopefully you'll be able to take something away this evening. Let's start with something very simple that many of us may do already. And we'll start with a gratitude list. I think if we can set a minute aside, either to journal a positive thought, remind us of something that we've succeeded with, and do the same for our children, that would help us to close the day on a positive note, and certainly help to start us prepare for the next day. Studies have shown that gratitude improves sleep quality, and it also decreases symptoms like unexplained aches and pains, and that's a very simple thing that we can do. Predictability is something that's very important for people with anxiety, and that's why many of us as adults use calendars and journals. It would be a nice thing to get our children started on a tool just like that, even if they're younger than middle school, even if they can't read yet. We can download pictures from our phones or from the internet to create symbols like mealtime, playtime, bath time, reading time, and perhaps set that up on our refrigerators. It instills a sense of predictability even in children as young as preschool, and it also establishes a tool for them that they can use that's very simple, and hopefully they'll carry that through with them. For youth and for teens, as well as for adults, I create something that I call a comfort box or a comfort journal. So for children, I would recommend putting things in there. And really this could apply to adults too. Some of us like to manually manipulate something like a fidget spinner or Play-Doh or Scotch tape. For a young child, we might want to put a stuffed animal in there. For children or adults, if we journal, we can put a positive affirmation, something to remind us that we've gotten through this before and we'll get through this again. And the same could be said for our children. We could have our teens put a playlist together to remind them of the music that helps them to cope a little bit better. It's a private tool. It's something they can add to and take away from. They could keep in their rooms, and certainly for adults, that's something we could even carry with us throughout the day to motivate us and to help us to have positive thoughts. I'm a big believer in setting aside time in the evening for what I call a worry break. And that's a few minutes at a set time every night for adults again, or for children, where you can speak with a trusted friend or relative, be able to share something that's weighing on you, and be able to put that thought away, and knowing that every day we have that set time aside for us is meaningful, and that we don't have to carry those pressures around all day. And I think that's even more meaningful for our children who experience all kinds of stress and anxiety throughout the day, knowing that they can come home and have this set time where they can sort of unload to us and we can carry that for them, helps to prepare them for a better night's sleep. And keeping in mind that for people with anxiety, one small stressor becomes a larger stressor and a larger stressor, and then feels like a catastrophic stressor. So going to bed at night, being able to have that routine and be able to free ourselves of those negative, anxious feelings are helpful. What else can we do? The typical things that we all know of. Regular exercise. You don't have to join a gym. It's cold out now, so we can certainly walk within our homes or our apartments just to make sure we're getting up. Many of us are sedentary and working at desks, so remembering to get up and walk throughout the day, making sure we close out our phones an hour before bedtime, setting aside some quiet time at night to set up for a restful evening, maybe using apps like Insight Timer and Calm. Getting started on a meditation practice would be really important, and certainly the basics of deep breathing, 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. That's a tool that we can use and one that we could certainly share with our families. As parents, you know your children the best. You know when they're functioning at a level that's within normal range for them. If they're not, I certainly think that it would be something you'd want to discuss with their pediatrician to get some resources for. And you certainly can take that same advice. I want everyone to remember that it's okay to not be okay. This has been an extraordinary time with an unreasonable amount of stressors for all of us. So I remind you to be kind to yourself, to know that you're doing okay, to not compare how you are managing things with how someone else is managing things. Certainly take advantage of natural supports and the people in your life to give you support, but know that if you too are not functioning in the way that you deserve to be, that you can certainly speak to your primary care doctor or a mental health professional. Thank you so much, and I hope this was helpful.
It was. Thank you, Sherry, for your guidance and great tips. Now, if you would like to ask our panel a question, please type your question for Drew or Sherry or both in the Q&A box below. There is an option to submit questions anonymously by checking off anonymous. Either way, only the panelists will see the live questions coming in, not the attendees. We will answer as many questions as possible, and we'll start with questions that were emailed to us. And the first one is, I'm not able to concentrate at work. Haven't been sleeping and have been struggling with some personal things at home. Can you tell me what I can do so that I can be more productive at work and not feel as distracted by my personal problems? Sherry.
Sure. I'm happy to start with that. I think that that's common, and we all feel at times stressed and distracted at work. Um, on a manageable end, I think using any one of these tools would be helpful. Certainly a trusted colleague, someone that you can chat with during the day, taking advantage of any of the things that I mentioned, but keeping in mind also many workplaces offer EAP services. So if you're exercising and you're getting the right amount of sleep and you're journaling and you're doing all the things that you could, and that's not enough, I would speak to HR and see if maybe EAP services are available to you so you can access a therapist or find a therapist on your own.
Thank you, Sherry. This next question is for Drew. Can you give some guidance on the best way to start to talk to children about substance use?
We had an experience with Hallie Ray. She babysat my youngest granddaughter, and she very young. She was just a little over 2 years old when she passed. So what we had to do was talk to her very gently and say that she's not with us any longer, but she's in a good place. She's in God's hands. But again, I think part of the stigma takes place here. A lot of people still feel that it's a downer to talk about addiction, substance abuse, or mental health problems. So be honest and be straightforward. Admit that someone in your family or you have a weakness and ask for help. Don't be afraid to do that, because the stigma is what is really hurting our efforts to normalize after this terrible pandemic that we've gone through. And with the tremendous increase in the use of heroin and fentanyl over the past couple of years, it's just been crazy.
Thank you, Drew. The next question coming in. My relationships have been suffering because I'm always irritable and don't want to socialize the way I did pre-pandemic. How can I stop worrying and try to enjoy myself this holiday season? Sherry?
I think all of us could probably relate to that question. Keeping in mind that I mentioned sometimes that irritability is more than just irritability. It could be sadness, it could be anxiety. So trying to pinpoint what that feeling is and where it's coming from. It is very hard to get back into the swing of things and try to socialize the way that we did prior. So maybe before the holidays, if you haven't been socializing, maybe making an effort to do so. Maybe not just going for a number of hours to someone's home, but in small spurts. And also being honest. Drew was talking about having frank conversations. I think the same is true of your mental health. Letting your family or your friends know how you feel and that you are struggling and you're having a hard day, and maybe asking for their patience. It feels hard to start those conversations, but the more that we have things like this, the more we normalize that. And so if you could start by doing that and just reaching out for their support, I think that's a good way to go.
Great.
For the most part, I found people want to help. Family members want to help. And sometimes we underestimate how much people want to pitch in and assist if they can. So don't ever underestimate the power of love and affection that people have for each other. So be honest and straightforward.
What do you suggest in terms of, on the parental side, if a parent perhaps detects something in their child, how do they bring up that topic to their child and ask them perhaps what's going on? What's the best way to do that?
Can I start, Liz?
Yes.
Being a grandfather, it was a little tough for me because Hallie Ray has a mother. She was 22, so she was independent of the house and in college at the time. She had graduated from high school. She was had a very good scholarship in New York City, and it was difficult for me to put my arm around her and give her advice, but I did anyway. And one of the things I said, there's a lot of There are a lot of drugs out there. This fentanyl is out there, and it can kill you. Just one pill, just one incident with drugs can kill someone. So please be very, very careful. We didn't know the extent of how deep she was into addiction at the time, and she her last words to us was, "I'm not stupid." So it's something I think about all the time. We don't think our kids are stupid, but they're naive, and we can help that naivety by giving them good counsel, good advice, and setting a good example wherever possible, even if you're a grandfather like me.
Sherry, do you want to add to that?
I would piggyback on that, and I think it's so appropriate, Drew, that you answered first, because having lived experience is the most meaningful. Your advice is heartfelt and accurate. I am a parent also, and I'm a believer in complete transparency. I don't or didn't hide anything. I have a young adult daughter now. I'm not speaking as a clinician, but I will tell you one of the things that she reports to me now, which may not sound great as I say it, but she was afraid of me. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, for children to know there may be consequences. And this was just worked in my home. It's different in every home. I spoke very frankly about her. We had people in our family, certainly that have struggled with substance use issues and mental illness. And I felt that being frank and honest about consequences with her was the way to go. And, you just hope and you pray the whole way. And that's all we can do.
Yes, thank you. Another question has come in. I feel more anxious this year than I did last year at this time. I enjoyed spending the holidays away from my family and the stressors that come with traveling and seeing everyone. What can I do to resume get-togethers while maintaining my mental and physical health? I'm not ready to go back to the way things used to be, and I feel guilty about that. Sherry?
Sure. That's understandable, and I think many of us feel that way. A little break was not horrible in some cases. Maybe being honest with your family, maybe not committing to the same amount of socializing that you did last year. Again, this comes down to being frank and transparent and honest. If you have found a new way to spend the holidays that work for you, I would support that and encourage people to do that. Keeping in mind, you don't want to isolate. You want to make sure that there's a healthy balance. We are coming out of this isolative period, and it is hard to get back into the swing. So monitoring to make sure it's not too much of one or the other, but maybe it's taught us that it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes and change plans if you need to.
That's right. That sounds good.
We've got a good opportunity coming up at the end of November into December with Thanksgiving, there's Hanukkah and Christmas. Great times to get the family together. Try to put aside the petty differences and get together as a group. Even if it means some travel, it's worth it.
Yes, and enjoy one another.
Yes.
That's great. Can you offer some suggestions on how to help a college-aged child who is away at school and expressing feelings of anxiety? It's hard to see my child struggle. How can I help from a distance?
I've got another grandchild who's in college, and she has been going through some of this because of the way the pandemic has been over the last few months. I've just found that wherever possible, daily contact or phone calls, weekly visits if possible. She came out on the Hampton Jitney to Long Island a couple of weekends ago. Just staying in contact, checking up, and just the old-fashioned contact is the best thing. To keep the communication lines open. Don't close them down. Don't build up walls.
Right. Do those check-ins. That's great.
I agree completely. And I might add that most campuses, I think, all have a counseling center. So it might be good to make that linkage or at least share that resource with your child so that they do know there's someone within a normal range, so that if they needed to get face-to-face with someone for some support, it's generally free. So that would be a good resource.
The next question, my elderly parents live many states away and have been isolated the past year. It's been hard to visit them. What can I do to help them and keep them from feeling sad and depressed?
Teach them how to work Zoom.
Exactly.
That's good.
Oh, Lord knows it's a challenge, but it's great to keep in touch, not only through sound, but through video. It's great. So if there's a way to get them acquainted, you know, most people have iPhones and it has a FaceTime on it. Maybe people are a little shy to go FaceTime, but it's another way to stay close contact, even if they're far away. I would suggest to try that first.
Agree. Family Zoom meetings are great, and FaceTime, agree.
Okay. We have another question, probably our last question. It feels so isolating to always be worried and not be able to share how I feel. What's the best way to ask for help and the best way to explain how I feel to my loved ones?
I can certainly, sure. It's hard to ask for help, and it's hard to say that you don't feel well. And at the start of my presentation, I talked about those physical feelings. And sometimes we might be complaining that I have a headache and a stomach ache, but it's more than that. So pinpointing how you really feel, is it a headache? Is it possible to have a headache every day for a month, or is it something more? And maybe for the loved ones to be able to ask the questions and not be afraid. I see you seem to not feel well all the time, or you're tired all of the time. Is there something more? Do you want to talk? So it goes both ways. We may not have the language to say how we feel when it's anxiety or depression, but for those that are listening, maybe it's about learning the language of how to ask the question as well. I'm noticing something. I'm here for you. Are you feeling okay? I too have headaches, and I've noticed it was something. So I think it's a give and a take on both ends.
Right.
A lot of people will open up when they share a meal. It's quite possible sharing a lunch or a dinner. Or an intimate phone call. People will reveal things that they normally wouldn't reveal in just passing conversations. So try something like that. Break bread together and maybe find something out and give assistance.
I like that a lot. We're heading into a new year, 2022. And some people feel anxious about that. They feel maybe pressure to make New Year's resolutions. What are your feelings on that?
Well, I'm an eternal optimist. So I think the further we get away from this horrible 2020 and 2021, the better we're going to be. Things are looking up. Inflation is bad, but everybody's getting vaccinated. We're starting to catch up with our supply demand. Yes, there are paper towels on the shelves of stores now. That's a start. We're on our way. So things will get better. Just hang in there and be patient.
That's great. Our glasses are half full, right?
Yes, and I'm not big on resolutions. I just think it's a setup for failure. That all that pressure at one time because it's the start of a new year. I think every day you get the chance to make a resolution that today's going to be a better day and I'm going to fix something that's not working right. So to not put that pressure on yourself, you don't have to set a yearly resolution.
Okay. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I'm so impressed by all of the good advice and the good questions that have been submitted. And I'm just so privileged to be able to participate in this event today. Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for the questions, and thank you, Drew and Sherry, for your really helpful answers. Now it's time to pick the raffle winners. So many of you have entered our raffle. You see here I have a raffle tumbler. All of the entries are in this raffle tumbler. And I'm going to pick each winner. So the third prize is 4 field level tickets to a New York Mets game. And the winner of the Mets tickets, Daniel Sweeney. Third prize winner, Daniel Sweeney. Congratulations. Okay, and now we have the second prize. These are free sessions of nutritional consultation by CN Guidance and Counseling Services. And the winner of the second prize, Nancy Manigat. Congratulations, Nancy Manigat, on winning the second prize, free nutritional counseling. And the first prize, 2 tickets to a Broadway show and transportation in Manhattan. And the first prize winner is Victoria Miller. Congratulations, Victoria Miller. Okay, we will contact all of the winners directly, and we hope you enjoy the prizes. Again, for those who are able to donate, please text "Thankful for You" to 44321. That's the word thankful, the number 4, the letter U to 44321. We appreciate everyone taking the time to join us this evening. A huge thank you to Drew Scott and Sherry Kaplan for spending this hour of hope with us. From all of us at CN Guidance and Counseling Services, stay safe and well, and we are thankful for you. Good night, everyone.